What's up, guys? Morning. Finished my shift like about an hour ago, and wanted to talk to you all about a movie that I saw. Not on theaters. It's a movie that kind of has a little bit of a correlation towards what I have been talking about for over the last couple of weeks, and it has been the Hunger Games. As you all know, I read the entire series. I raved about the movie, and I've also been hopeful about the upcoming sequels. But I never actually mentioned how a lot of people thought this movie was a tamer, rip-offish version of a movie called Battle Royale. It's an Asian, Japanese, I think it's a Japanese movie that was done in the year 2000. So which clearly came first before last year when the Hunger Games first came out. And it too was also based on a book from the same title, whereas the books that I read also were newer as well. So clearly, Battle Royale came first. A lot of people believe that the Hunger Games rips off Battle Royale, in the movies at least. But I didn't know why. In fact, my friend Christina, my Christina, she who we used to be together. That's a History Channel feature that I'll be sure to get into one day. She says she would never see the Hunger Games at all because she's like convinced that it's a ripoff of Battle Royale. Now, I thought about approaches as to how I would say this. I don't know if I wanted to do a Battle Royale versus Hunger Games video, but I think for a video like that, I think I would like to, put a little more work into it. Maybe just do it at a different type of video. But I think what I'll do is I kind of just give my impressions of the movie for now, and talk about what I think are like the similarities between that and the Hunger Games and this. So, I mean, first off, I heard about this movie even before moving here. I mean, I knew about it in Puerto Rico. You could not find this movie anywhere because they do not sell this. They would not sell it. It was banned from the U.S. Nobody was allowed to see it. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was being distributed everywhere. And I guess they finally allowed Battle Royale to be the movie that came out. And there is possibly every good reason to believe why this movie got banned so long ago. This movie is very, very disturbing in the sense that the graphic nature of what it's showing is, well, very similar to the Hunger Games. That's why in the Hunger Games, a lot of people were a little worried how it was going to get depicted. In fact, the movie almost got made into an R-rated movie because of this, and I think it held itself back, and I think it was wrong. I think it should have just garnished with what it was going to show us and show us the true veracity. But the problem with doing that is it comes at the risk of losing who the core audience was for the book, and that was teens. Whereas it's kind of still very, very graphic, but I'm not going to contest the fact that there's probably a lot more graphic stuff than that. Seriously, but this ain't PG-13 as it goes on later in the books. So I'm thinking maybe they turned the letter. Battle Royale is unrated at the max. Common sense rating is N17. Just like Do not let anyone below the age of 17 watch this movie. This movie is the why I say it's disturbing in its content. I'm talking about, it's like, this is an Asian made film. This is a movie where it does over the top violence, but at the same time it's realistic also. It's very not, it does not hold itself back. This is clearly a movie that is very, very disturbing, and it's very, very, you should not watch this movie if you're squeamish to violence. You should not watch this movie if you're squeamish to young kids killing each other. And this is definitely not a movie for the faint of heart. But this movie is fucking awesome. This movie is great. I absolutely love this movie. Seriously, I mean, it's the sad. I mean, I'm the type of guy that enjoys movies that love to show you things you don't normally see before and leave a lasting impression. Battle Royale is a movie where I've seen the concept before, but I feel here, I think it was executed very, very differently. I mean, for the time, I mean, the movie, you could see the Hunger Games in this movie if you were in this. But then again, you have to sort of kind of tell yourself, no, wait a minute, this came along first. So you're like, this inspired, this kind of made the Hunger Games sort of what it is in regards to like how it was first depicted. But it's much more different than that. And I think this is where I'm going to venture away from talking about the Hunger Games, because I would like to make another video comparing them. But the movie Battle Royale, in its basic synopsis, is about a group of kids. It's a class group. It's a classroom full of like 42 students. They live in like, it's sort of like an Ellsworthy, Japan, whereas it's in a fictional town. It's a really fictional story about how apparently kids rebel to the point where it's leading the Asian Asian cities to disarray. Apparently it's causing some kind of collapse, apparently. And the government instills an incentive to respond to that. As an act of defiance, this is what they come up with. And it is the Battle Royale. A random school gets selected. They get tricked into going into this field trip. They get gassed. And then they wake up in this facility, which is on a deserted island. And it's led by a former teacher of them. And he explains to them that the Battle Royale, it was instilled because of you people. And the only way that you guys are going to leave is dead. Except one of you. Does that sound familiar? Ringing any bells? Yes. The Battle Royale is what became the Hunger Games. I'm not saying that Suzanne Collins got direct inspiration from Battle Royale. I mean, she wrote the books before the movie was created, but I'm hard-pressed to think that Battle Royale had nothing to do with her inspiration. I'm hoping that it did, because it sort of sings to a note. It's like the government created this thing, and they're making an example, and that's why these kids are being subjected to this game. They are all given a pack full of like maybe a weapon or some useless item, water, bread, and they send them off their way in an island. They have 3 days to kill each other off, And they are also wearing explosive necklaces that apparently also serve as tracking devices and listening devices as well, and so eloquently demonstrate how they work by killing off one of the students right off the bat with one of them. And then from there on out, it's just a slew of violence and killing and constant blood and suicide, and just this is just a very, very gruesome sight to see if you're squeamish to the heart. I thought this movie was awesome because of how well made it was. Seriously, this is a well made movie. Battle Royale, for all of its violence and for all of its acclaim and its controversy about how it was being banned everywhere, and apparently how Battle Royale was the most disgraceful thing ever done in cinema. It's basically exploiting violence. No, this movie has a plot. This movie has multiple plots, actually, and not like multiple plots. I'm talking about tons of character development. I mean, seriously. I mean, every single student, it's almost as if the movie goes out of their way to make you care for every single one of their students. And because you know that out of 41 students, there's only going to be one of them that has to come out alive. So they're already throwing you in the expectation. Do not get attached to any of these kids. And then you're just sort of wondering which one is going to be. Then you start seeing the ones that are going to be, that you sort of kind of notice that are the power players. You know, the ones in which you probably think these guys are going to make it through the ranks little by little. Then you start seeing characters you starting getting to like, only and they end up dead. And then characters that you don't even realize, they get a little more attention to them and then they die. I mean, seriously, this is like George R.R. Martin shit. Seriously. When you get attached to characters, it's only like a 2-hour movie, and it's like, you know, they can't all get out alive, but you know, this is a movie where they just make you just kind of flip through the Rolodex of students. They each announce each one's deaths, kind of similar to, I mean, like I said, in the Hunger Games, they definitely do, you know, make a lot of instances where stuff that happened in Battle Royale happens in the Hunger Games. I mean, seriously. But not just that, the movie also has a good, I mean, it goes not just focusing on the actual event, but it also focuses on making you care about the characters. There's conversations between some of the of these of these people that are in here, the kids, and also the thing that also you should also bear to remember when going into this is that these kids know each other. These kids are classmates. These kids have probably grown up together, I think, if that's how it works over there. But basically, these are classmates. They have this connection with each other. And all of a sudden, that has no bearing at all whatsoever. I mean, some of them do try to get together. But again, there goes that George R.R. Martinism, always in the way, just making you not get attached to some of these people, and you're thinking to yourself, they're gonna make it, but then you realize it's like when stuff starts happening, I'm like, no, oh dear Jesus, they're gonna die, aren't they? Seriously, I mean, ugh. The music in this is playing this constant. It's like orchestraic, like pieces, well-known orchestra pieces as well, serving as set up for this entire thing, almost kind of showing it as it is, like if it was a tragedy, because it is. This whole thing is a tragic display of violence, and you know, it's completely stupid. Seriously, I mean, it's because the reason that they're doing it, they claim it's because the kids are being defiant. They define the normalities of the real world. They're just like, no, we got to show them it cannot be disrespectful, and this is kind of what they come up with. and it's very scary how realistic it all looks. The violence is completely like over the top. I mean, I've seen gruesome things. I mean, I've seen the Saw movies. I've seen Hostel. I've seen Hostel 2. I've seen a ton of violence growing up. I've seen tons of terror movies. I've seen tons of action movies. I've seen um, anime. I've seen Japanese or Asian movies that are also just as violent. I mean, called Old Boy is actually a movie that has kind of garnered controversy like Battle Royale because of what happened at Virginia Tech. Because apparently the guy was a big fan of whatever, or saw it or whatever. But all I'm trying to say is that if I seen this movie when I first heard about it, I would literally be blown away by its premise about how it was. But either because we've been just desynthesized for it, that's probably what I thought of happened. I think people saw that movies that were being made, I think, gotten so violent to the point where they're just so graphic now, and people go to see these movies and they wonder, you know what? I don't think these people can't handle this type of movie. I honestly don't think this movie will ever get remade. I mean, to recreate that and do it again, right? First off, it's running the risk of looking like the Hunger Games, because now the Hunger Games have sort of kind of just taken that mantle already as that movie, as those movies that are going to. And number two, if they make a movie like Battle Royale, you know that they have to do Battle Royale exactly just like Battle Royale did. I mean, they did something called The Condemned, which basically was Battle Royale with prisoners. But you don't feel sorry for any of them because they're all scoundrels. You don't care about any of them. They did something similar to that in Predators, where they pit these guys in a little contained area and they have to defend themselves off from the Predators. Which is similar, basically. But, I mean not all the way, but, there you go. But if they ever made a Battle Royale movie, I mean, they would have to get the graphic violence, the depiction of young kids getting killed. I mean, that's the thing that I think shocks people, is that the violence that's being depicted is done by children, teens, kids that are being reported as the kids that are committing heinous like atrocities, and it was like school shootings and stuff like that. Now they put them in an island, and they're threatened to kill them. They have to kill each other against their will, and they are literally hanging within their lives. And I mean, seriously, this movie is not for the faint of heart. But is it something that someone can't handle? Really? No. I mean, seriously. I've seen movies, I've heard of movies that are pretty gruesome. It's kind of weird. I feel as so this kind of the synthesized for the violence. I think getting me, my brain has acclimated. It's weird. I don't know what it is. But Battle Royale is a freaking fantastic movie. For those of you who like Asian or international movies, this movie has more of an action drama, because there is the times where they kind of slows things down to give you a little bit of plot development or interchangeability with things that happened outside, to get you to connect more with the characters in here. But I would classify this more as an action or a thriller. I wouldn't classify this as a horror, because you don't get scared when you see this movie. You kind of get like your jaw just kind of drops to the floor sometimes. So, but that's my impression. I mean, I recommend anybody to watch Battle Royale. I do not recommend seeing this with your teens, and do not get your children to see this movie. This movie will literally give them nightmares. They'll be afraid to go to school, which It's not a bad thing to be, considering how how scary it is already as it is. Now, will I make comparisons from the Hunger Games? Maybe I'll do a video on this. Uh, you know what? I want to do a video on this. How does it compare to the Hunger Games? And I'll even say which one of them is better. Which I think is going to, cause a little bit of stir, whichever one I pick. Even picking them both, which I feel is like a cop out almost. but I mean, if you realize these aren't the same thing. I mean, they're not the same thing. I mean, Battle Royale, it's its own thing, and the Hunger Games is just a completely different thing that took inspiration from it. So, but this one is an entirely Battle Royale-ish focused video, and I am not squeamish to the violence, so I really didn't find anything wrong with. I mean, there were silly moments sometimes, and believe it or not, this movie does have a fair share of silly moments, like how a guy who has a freaking machine gun cannot hit anything within like 6 feet distance of a person riding a bicycle. How they could literally be like head to head from each other and somehow not be able to hit each other. Little things. And if you're not into the Asian culture stuff, there are some things that are just going to be like, why'd they do that? But just keep an open mind when you see this movie. I do give this movie a full recommendation, a 5 out of 5. This is definitely a movie everyone should see, just so you can understand that, you know what, with limited, with you don't need the CG. You just need practical effects, good shooting, and a director who is unfortunately dead, who has a vision to make a movie like this happen. And the only way that this will work if they get it Americanized or remade is if they do the exact same thing. This movie is a movie that I think warrants this type of treatment, just to see how they can recreate it. I won't die miserable if they don't do it, but whatever. But what do you guys think? This is the part where we talk a little bit about what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys like Battle Royale? Did you find it offensive? Did you know anybody that found it offensive? Do you know any parents that found it offensive? Do you find any people that actually boycotted this movie? In comparison, what did you mean? Do you think? Next to the Hunger Games, that I think will be stuff. We'll try to limit the Hunger Games talk till the next video, but we want to talk more about this movie seriously. And if you guys have any other recommendations of things that are similar to Battle Royale, that is not the Hunger Games, let me know. We could bring those in. It's like bring them into the pit. So far, these are the two major players, because this is the Battle Royale is the movie that shocked the planet, and the Hunger Games is the successful PG-13, not so violent, similar movie. I would say a clean version, but the Hunger Games is not a clean movie either. So, but no, Battle Royale has it beat on the violence. Seriously. Well, guys, you have a great day. It is a weekend day, so I hope you guys are enjoying your weekend, and I'm going to go play more of The Last of Us. So take care, guys. Peace.